was thinking a bit about the last video I shot and the three tips that I would give a new, not just a new amputee, but really anybody facing adversity, and the three big tips that helped me through my recovery. And one of them that I've been thinking about was challenging yourself. And what does challenging yourself do for you? And what did it do for me? And the answer is it gave me everything, right? Very early on, the first day, in fact, I made the decision that I wanted to play standing ice hockey again. I didn't want to play sled hockey. I think sled hockey is an amazing sport for disabled people. I have a lot of respect and admiration for those guys and what they do. It's incredibly challenging, and the people who do it, and they're awesome at it. But I've played hockey my whole life, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back to regular standing ice hockey. At that point in my life, I had never heard of anybody playing ice hockey on a prosthetic. I had no idea if people did it or not. I had no clue. As far as I knew, I may have been the first person trying to do it. Turns out I wasn't, which was very helpful. But I had no idea. And within 24 hours of my amputation, they were asking me what are my top three goals. And I said on that first day, I wanted to play ice hockey again. And I thought they were going to tell me I'm crazy or why I would never play hockey again or how, that's great. Let's introduce you to sled hockey. But instead, everybody's like, that's awesome. What do we have to do to make that happen? And that's what we all started working towards. Um, I started doing PT. They gave me this big, thick PT packet to take home, and I did it like it was my job. I did it all the time. I did it until I was exhausted from doing it. And what that led to was the first day I got my prosthetic, I walked out with it. I didn't use a wheelchair anymore. That was the last day I used a wheelchair, and I used a walker, but I still walked out of it. Walked out of my prosthesis appointment. Then I progressed from a walker to two forearm crutches to one forearm crutch to a cane to nothing in about 2.5 weeks. And at 2.5 weeks, my 2.5 week check-in, my prosthetist asked me, "Okay, when do you want to go ice skating?" Because he told me we can't. He told me we can't even talk about ice skating until I wasn't using any device. So that 2.5 week check-in, I used a cane. I used a cane to go to the prosthetist, and then walked in without one. And that's when he said, "All right, when are we doing this?" I said, "How about Friday?" He said, "Let's go Friday." Friday was 3 weeks to the day after I got my first prosthetic, and I went ice skating. And a couple weeks after that, I started playing hockey again. And it was bad. And it was terrible. I've never been great, so it wasn't that far to fall. But I really started enjoying it again. And through the connections I made very quickly on the way for other amputees that have played ice hockey and learning from them and what they had done to be successful to be able to play hockey on a prosthetic, I had gotten connected with the American Amputee Hockey Association, and I've gotten to play on teams now of amputees, and I've gotten opportunities to represent the country and play against the Canadian team, the Canadian amputee hockey team, and it's been an incredible experience. And through that, I pushed myself to become a better hockey player. First, I just wanted to get back to playing rec hockey. I just wanted to get back to playing beer league and having fun with my friends. And I just wanted to play competently enough not to hurt myself. But now I'm actually driven and focused on getting good at hockey again and pushing myself. And every time I get on the ice, I feel noticeably better than I was the last time. I mean, I really have improved myself. So what does that mean, though? I mean, that's great for hockey, but that's made everything else in my life easier. That's made everything else in my life, day-to-day walking has been easier. Being on my legs all day, being on my prosthetic all day is easy for me. Getting high steps in every single day is easy for me. My balance is improved. My coordination is improved. My leg strength is better. So where other amputees work hard just to get back to walking, where other amputees, not all amputees, but other amputees, their goal is I just want to get back to day-to-day life. I blew right past that. I blew right through that because I set that goal so far, that was just a waypoint for me. And then that evolved more into snowboarding now because I've always snowboarded off and on my whole life. Not as consistently as I played hockey, but I've done it most of my life. Some years I didn't make it out because I lived in the South. Some years when I lived in Northern Italy, I was out a lot. Um, so it's been real hit or miss. Well, a couple years ago, me and my son started getting into snowboarding fairly regularly because he started getting really into it, and so now I had something great to share with my kid, and I really enjoyed it. We really had a lot of fun together. And I had gone snowboarding a few times as an amputee before, and honestly, I don't want to not trying to throw shade on disabled snowboarders. It was a lot easier than trying to play hockey on a prosthetic, so it kind of came back to me pretty quickly, and it was great. And I was having a lot of fun, and I'd gone out a few times before we started doing it consistently, but then a couple years ago we started doing it real consistently. We went out 20, 30 times probably in that year. Late in the season, my son, who is pretty bummed out that standing amputee hockey is still not a Paralympic sport, says to me, "Dad, you should try to qualify for the Paralympics in snowboarding." After I took a second to process what he had just said to me, I took the time to explain to him, it's not something you just go show up and try to qualify for. It's a years long process. It takes a long time of competing at lower levels to even get considered for something like that. And I'm mid 40s. I'm not a young guy, and I've never snowboarded competitively before. And then he says to me, "Well, you're one of the better snowboarders out there despite having a prosthetic. And I think you're better than you're giving yourself credit for, and I think you should try." And when your own son says that, you almost have to follow through. When your kids believe in you like that, you almost have to at least try. And I had no desire to snowboard competitively. I had no desire to see how far I could take it. For me, it's always just been a recreational thing. But I wanted to show my son, if he believes in me, that I can at least give it a try and give it an effort. And that's opened the door to me to just so much more positive impacts and positive results. I've gotten to meet some amazing people. I got to meet Amy Purdy and her husband Dan, and snowboard with them out with their organization out of Copper Mountain. Um, I got connected with Move United and the amazing coaches there, like Cub. I mean, they're a great group of guys, amazing people. Um, I, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of just all these supportive people, all these great people, who I tell them the story and tell them why at my age I'm trying this, and they're realistic. They say, you know, that's great. You're a pretty solid snowboarder, especially for kind of getting into competition for the first time. You're doing really good. It's not a sport you age well into. So my answer to back to him's always been, "Hey man, I'm a hockey player and a former paratrooper. I'm a tough dude. Let's figure this out. Let's see how far we can take this." Um, I got connected with a race team here, Return. They're amazing. They're not a disabled team. They're a regular race team, but they embraced me. I've been getting amazing coaching with them. Really, really great teammates. Really awesome experience. Qualified for the national championship this year. Went and won it in giant slalom. I was the only competitor, but still had to go through the whole season. The only disabled competitor. Still had to go through the whole season. I still had to go qualify for it and go through all the training. But it was a really positive experience in on its own. And it what I learned from that is there's more in the tank. There's more to me than even I thought. I don't know how far this is going to go. I still think I got a better shot at the Paralympics if they ever had standing amputee hockey or had it in the next games or two before I'm too old to play anymore, than I ever have at a shot at making it as a snowboarder. But I'm gonna take it as far as I can go, and I'm gonna see what I can get out of it and see how far I can take it. Because at the end of the day, the people I've met and the connections I've made, even if I never make it anywhere in snowboarding, even if I never qualify for anything at a high level of snowboarding, just all the amazing people and everything that's added to my life And again, back to that day to day life and how much better shape I'm in. I'm in best shape, certainly since I've got out of the army. Probably better shape than I was half of my career in the army. And it's from trying to be an athlete now, and it's pushing myself and the increase in balance I have and the increase in flexibility I have and how much younger and healthier I feel than I did before I started trying to do a competitive sport. So I pause and I think about a friend I made along the way who's won multiple Paralympic medals, Keith Gable, and he's been a big, helping a big influence on this. And he's 42 and I'm 46 and he just retired. But I'm going to convince myself I'm not too old to chase this and I'm going to keep going and keep taking it as far as I can. So, and that's what it does. That's what competition does. That's what pushing yourself does. That's what making hard goals and believing in yourself does. Will I ever make the Paralympics? Maybe as a hockey player one day. I really doubt ever as a snowboarder. I won't say no, and I'm going to push myself as hard as I can and see how far I can take it. But even if I don't, everything else that it's given to me in my life and everything else and all the connections and friends I've made along the way have absolutely been made, have just made it worth every minute and worth every ounce of the effort I put into it. So whatever it is, I know there's something out there, a new job, a business venture, trying to do a competitive sport of your own, whatever that challenge is, go do it. Go take a shot at it. The worst thing that's going to happen is you fail, but if you never try, you'll never do it. And you'll get so much out of it, even if you do fail. You learn so much, you grow so much, and you become so much better. Have a great night, everyone.